Good morning. My name is Cindy Hackett, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I have to say that my heart fills with joy as I see all the names this morning. And we welcome all who are joining us with a longing for community, the hope for peace, the hope for health, and for those who are seeking justice. We are a diverse congregation which encourages each one who comes through our doors to find their own truth and belief. We invite all who join us in a search for meaning and community, guided by reason, respect for each other, and by love. The wonderful thing about this virtual platform is that we have an opportunity to welcome guests outside our traditional geographic area. In past Sundays, we have had visitors from across the country, as today from San Diego, Colorado Springs, North Carolina, can't remember others that I saw, and even across the ocean. So a special welcome to our new friends and our returning friends, and we're so glad you can join us even from far away. We invite you to follow us on Facebook. Links to the video version of this service will be posted there at some point, as well as other communication. Please watch for the e-news in your inboxes for other information on upcoming events, and always for the link to Sunday service via Zoom. Let us prepare to gather in worship.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see everybody's names and joys and sorrows coming through the chat. It feels so good to be together. I'm so grateful for your presence with us today. Our opening words are by Sharon Wiley. It is okay to be tired of change. It is okay to be tired of everything different. It is okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth. It is okay to yearn to simply rest. It is okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied, and all the ordinary human ways of being that we are. Let this morning be a reminder to you that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. And may you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, no matter what you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us join together in worship. It is good to be together.
Good morning. My name is Tim Dyson, and I'm gratefully serving as your celebrant this morning. Please join me for our chalice lighting. Words can be found in the chat. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Slocum. I am the Director for Religious Exploration for Children and Youth here at Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. This is the time when we typically ask the children to come up to the front of the sanctuary for the Time for All Ages. So I'm imagining the kids here, maybe are the kids pressed close to their computers at home. Each of us has our own story. Who we are and how we live our lives creates our story. But it isn't just people who have a story. Everything on Earth, and even the Earth itself, has a story. This week we're observing Earth Day, and it's a good time to look at how our stories connect with the Earth's stories. So if you are unfamiliar with Earth Day, it's a day that was first celebrated 50 years ago this week. People started Earth Day as a way for us to focus on the health of the Earth. At the time, there was a lot of pollution and lots of things going on where people were using up the Earth's resources and not being careful about it. We're still working on those issues, but we did make some progress. I know I've shared before about how back in those days, there was a river that actually caught on fire because it was so polluted. And closer to home, Lake Washington, which is up in Seattle, was considered to be nearly dead. Did you know that lakes and rivers are alive? They're alive with plants, they're alive with animals and fish and invertebrates and insects. But Lake Washington was almost dead, and it has been brought back to life by the work of people who wanted to make that difference. Earth Day is a really good time for us as Unitarian Universalists to think about our seventh principle. When we talk about the seventh principle in our religious exploration program with children, we say that it's important that we care for the earth. But the adult version of our seventh principle says we show respect for the interdependent web of all existence. Now, those are some big words, but they're important words, so I want to talk about those a little bit. So the word interdependent, you may know the word dependent. To depend on something means you rely on it or you need it for your well-being. For instance, you depend on your parents to protect you and take care of you. But to be interdependent means that you depend on something and something depends back on you. When we are interdependent, we depend on each other. But the seventh principle goes even further because it talks about the interdependent web of all existence. It's not just about people, all existence. It's about everything, the trees, the birds, the dandelions, the earth itself. We depend on them and they depend on us. We depend on trees for all kinds of things, like cleaning our air, very important, and giving us wood. We depend on birds to eat the mosquitoes that would swarm all around us and bite us if the birds didn't keep their population in check. They carry seeds from one place to another. We even depend on dandelions to provide nectar for pollinators, bees, and other insects that then carry that pollen to help plants grow. They help our food grow. All important stuff. And some people even use dandelions as food. And the trees and the birds and the dandelions depend on us to take good care of the environment, to make sure we don't pollute, and that we use and to use them as we live our lives, but to be smart about how we use them. For instance, it's okay that we might use trees for wood or to make paper, but we don't want to cut down all of the trees so that there are none left, just so we can have wood and paper. We want to be smart about it. So when we're talking about our interdependent web, we're talking about the ways that we are all connected. Imagine if you and I had a long string and you were holding onto one end of it and I was holding onto one end. We are connected by that string. And then think about a string between you and each of your family members and each of your friends. You're holding a whole bunch of strings that are connected. And I'm holding a bunch of strings that are connected to my family and my friends. And then add strings between each of us and the trees, all the trees, and all the birds and all the dandelions. And that's where we talk about our interdependent web, that way that we're all connected. Those strings all connected make a web, much like a spider's web. And if one part of that web falls down, Like if we cut down all the trees in the rainforest, the web collapses and pulls us down. So this week, perhaps you will observe Earth Day. And you can use that time to think about how we are all connected and how important it is that we keep the whole interdependent web healthy. If one part falls down, it affects everything. As you live your story, as you create your own story, remember that you affect the stories of others. The way you live your life affects others. This might be a good topic to talk about in your families, about how you can respect our interdependent web. There may be some changes you can make in your life. And I'd like to encourage you not just to do it on Earth Day, but every day, day in and day out. I hope you all make choices that keep our interdependent web strong and healthy. I'm depending on you. We're all depending on each other. I'd like to remind everybody that we do a kids chapel for elementary school age children after this service at 11:30. I've sent a link and password out to families via email earlier today. If you didn't get it and you want to participate, shoot me an email before 11:30 and I will send it to you. And I'll put my email address in the chat. Kids, as you are leaving the service now, if you're here, I want to send you off with the words that we sing to you every Sunday morning. These are words by Kathleen Tracy. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. Thank you. Be well.
Hello again. Now is the time we offer our financial gifts to the work of this congregation. Until we are together again, we are suspending our Share the Plate guest organizations and will resume once we are gathered physically in our worship space. Thank you for your consideration to support our church during this uncertain and volatile time. You may follow the link on the following slide to contribute your support for our church members and staff working tirelessly to keep this congregation connected in new and dynamic ways. Every little bit helps. And while we are physically apart, our gifts are stronger together. Thank you.
Let us come into a time to pause for quiet, for stillness, a time for meditation or prayer, or simply being in this moment. We'll start with a poem by Rudy Francisco, Have a Time of Stillness Together, and then we'll emerge with the sound of the bell. But first, these words. And sometimes it all arrives at once. The anxiety, the fear, the voices that scratch your confidence like a chalkboard, and somehow all the oxygen in the room suddenly becomes water, and you begin to wonder if you have what it takes to grow gills. You wonder if you will ever breathe again. And the answer is, not every building that shakes will collapse. The answer is, not everything that chips will crumble. The answer is, this is temporary, and yes, you will. Let us pause in stillness together.
Hello? On the Other Side by Lynn Ungar. Through the looking glass, down the rabbit hole, into the wardrobe, and out into the enchanted forest, where animals talk and danger lurks, and nothing quite works the way it did before. You've fallen into a new story. It is possible that you are much bigger or smaller than you thought. It is possible to drown in the ocean of your own tears. It is possible that mysterious friends have armed you with magical weapons you don't yet understand, but which you will need to save your own life and the world. Everything here is foreign. Nothing quite makes sense. That is how it works. Do not confuse the beginning of the story with the end. Thank you.
Where are we in our stories? Reading Lynn's poem this week started me reflecting about where we are in our stories. Are we at the beginning or at the end? In the messy middle? I could make an argument for any of those choices. Is this the end? We've heard for years that human beings are damaging the earth beyond repair. Hydrocarbons warming the earth, our climate was changing, disaster was on its way unless we did something dramatic. The apocalypse was coming, though it wouldn't be the meteor slamming into the earth, just a slow death as the air became unbreathable, the weather unpredictable and violent, and the growing seasons changed beyond saving. And now here we are. This lethal, invisible virus that spreads easily as a breath, and everything is changed and uncertain. Sometimes it feels like the end of all that we have known is here. Then again, are we at the beginning? Are we faced with a challenge that will change our lives and the life of our planet, that now offers us the opportunity to build something new, to recreate our community and our country and the world? As I keep saying and keep noticing, and as Nancy mentioned this morning, the veils that hide our deep interconnections are drawn back, and we see that we are one with people all across the world, sharing in their vulnerabilities. Whatever wealth has protected us is no longer enough to keep us safe. Inequalities are laid even more bare for those of us of privilege who have not seen so clearly. We have the opportunity to make a significant change everywhere as we go forward in this time of crisis. And then again, it's all the messy middle. Some mornings I am surprised to be waking into a day that is largely stripped of doing everything that I'm used to. Driving to work, working, get this, at work, driving home, eating in a restaurant, having tea with a friend. But it is what it is, and I make my way through the days. Not much is clear right now. Is this a year, 2 years, or just a few months? What plans can I make? What is there to look forward to? If there is a way forward, who can tell in all this uncertainty? There are discoveries, to be sure, made during this time. My family discovered that we can make risotto in our Instant Pot, and it is fabulous. Who knew it could be so easy? And of course, there's everybody's sourdough starter that they've begun. Perhaps you haven't. Wherever you are in this time, is where you are. And day to day, it is likely to change. Some days the beginning, sometimes the end, often the middle. And there may be times when all of them are happening at once. Heaven help us all when we step into that moment. I would suggest that there are spiritual tools that we need to get us through this time. And each one is somewhat different for each place in the story. At the apocalyptic end of the story, we especially need, I think, deep presence. These are the days to watch the birds wheel in the sky, to notice the small changes in leaves and flowers. Maybe you just need to watch baby goats in pajamas for a good 10 minutes or so. Find something to love about your life right now, right in this moment. Make a comforting soup. Reach out to a loved one and make a real connection. This is the time to pause and to be in this moment right now. Breathe slow and deep. Stop the treadmill of a dead run into catastrophe. Be in the moment. Be present to what is now. In the messy middle, I think we need balance. It's so easy to get lost in the chaos of this time, finding a rhythm to our days, creating some order will help us to keep breathing. Find what grounds you most and make space for it. Balance the voices of disaster with the voices of hope. Let neither capture your whole attention, and make peace with the unknown. We always live in the unknown, though we forget it often. Make peace with being in that place, in that messy middle. And if we are at the beginning of a story, I think we need courage most. What is possible in this time of upheaval and change is in some measure in our hands. What will it take to remake the world? What will it take to step into a future that is more unknown than most of us have experienced before in our lives? How can we prepare for what is to come? We need to be brave, watch out for the chances to make a difference, to create a different possibility and a different future. Deep presence, balance, and courage are the spiritual tools that will help us through this time. They are those lifelines that will keep us, which will help us find the future more whole and engaged. But there's more. A colleague noted to me some time ago that the explanation of the Chinese character for crisis has often been misinterpreted. You've likely heard that the two symbols represent danger and opportunity. He said that the symbol for danger is in fact correct, but opportunity isn't the best translation for the second symbol. The better translation, he says, is choice. In the midst of danger, it is not just that we are presented with possibilities, but that we have the capacity to make a choice about how we will live through the danger, that we will choose to do in its presence, what we will choose to do in its presence, and how we will live. In a time of crisis, we can choose how to be in the world, and we can choose the difference we will make. And that is the final spiritual tool that will guide us through this time. Our ability to choose how we will be in this crisis. Circumstances are what they are. There is much that is completely out of our control, and we will not always be able to do our best or to be our best. Some mornings we may not even be able to get out of bed. Still, here in this time, here in this place, in these moments that we have, let us reach for deep presence, for balance, and for courage. And let us choose our way ahead, ever and always, with love. So may it be. I invite you now to pause for another few moments of quiet together, a few moments to set an intention for how you will take what you have gotten this morning, whether it's been in the silence or the sharing of joys and sorrows, if it's been in the words or in some of the music. I invite you to set an intention for how you will carry that out into the world. Let us pause in stillness. Friends, be strong, be well, be true, and be loving. Go in peace. And now join in our extinguishing of the chalice.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join me with the words found in the chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you.
And now our closing blessing song. Let's join with Zyreel in singing.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live.